Hi guys, back again. Happy New Year. It's been a long time since I've last done a layout update, but this is the first update of 2014 and the 10th layout update overall for those of you who have been following my layout updates. So sorry I didn't get one up during January. I really didn't get a lot of stuff done over the month of January, but when February hit, I got a lot of stuff done, and it's the end of February. But this is going to be quite a long video, so I don't know exactly how long YouTube will take to upload my video, so it might even go into March. So I guess it's going to be my February, March layout updates. I might get another one up during March, depending on how much stuff I get done then. But let's get to it. So the first thing I've done is, actually I did this 2 nights ago, is I started weathering some more cars. Haven't been doing a lot of that lately, but I'm sure a lot of you know Pele Soberg. He has a Union Pacific layout, and he is a fantastic modeler. So he has a few books. He has some weathering book that I learned how to do this in. He has some detailing books, some layout books of how to start, make a layout from start to finish. He has a whole bunch of stuff. He's very popular through the Model Railroader magazine, And yeah, so I did this steel coil car from his book, basically, and I used a couple of different things. I don't do a lot of airbrushing, so stepped out of the box a little bit and faded this down with an airbrush, which I don't normally do, and added some grime on the underbody a little bit. And yeah, I did exactly what he did, basically. Here's the other side. But yeah, this is my best one probably yet, and I really like that. This car needs to be a little bit darker though, because it is quite light. So I'll darken that up with a little bit of darker rust powder. So what he used for paint is he pretty much makes his own. He uses this Satin varnish, and he takes some burnt umber paint and some of the chalk powders, and he mixes it all together, and it creates kind of like a textured, thick paint. So you put that, you make your little rust marks, and you take a short bristled brush, and you get a little bit of chalk powder, and you just drag down to create the streaks. So this car turned out really nice, and my other car, which I'll show you, it looks like a rust bucket. I didn't really mean to do this. I had to though, because this was like the first car I did with the airbrush, and I faded it way too heavily, and it almost looked white. So I compromised, and I took a bunch of chalk powders and paint, and I just did this thing up as if it was a very rusty old car. I even created the effect of like a patch. That'll focus right there. And same goes with the other side. And some of the decals right there that I had to uncover. So this card wasn't probably like the best, but I think it'll look pretty good, and it will fit my layout because I don't have a ton of really rusty cars like you see on the railroad. My second thing is couplers on my auto racks. Okay. So recently I went to the hobby store and I got a bunch of couplers. I got KD number 141s with long shank standard head couplers, and some KD number 148 standard heads, and I got some KD number 5s from a friend of mine that I recently visited his layout, and he had a whole bunch of spares, so he just passed them on to me. So I put some long shank couplers on these auto racks because I have that one corner up in my mountains that is fairly tight radius that my auto racks don't like when they're back to back with short couplers, and they'll derail. So I changed that out, and I've been running them a little bit, and they do not derail on that corner anymore, which is good because instead of these $20-$30 cars sitting on the shelf all the time. I can run them every once in a while. But I don't like running these because they do take up a lot of space and they do look quite big on my layout because it's a solid layout, so everything looks a little bit smaller when it's compared to certain things. I got my engine fixed, or a engine fixed. For those of you who have watched a couple of layout updates ago, I think it might have been last, but I talked about this engine. I recently got this Norfolk Southern Heritage unit back, and it had some major lighting problems. 3 of the 4 ditch lights did not light up, and 2 of the 4 headlights front and back did not light up, which I wasn't too impressed upon because it's Athearn Genesis. You do pay a lot of money for their engines, and it just turned out being I wasn't impressed, but it is my favorite engine, and it runs smoothly now, so I'm happy. But it was a big disappointment. Athearn is getting a little bit cheaper. The guy at the hobby store told me with how they solder their wires and connect their wires to the decoder. In some cases, he's even seen little alligator clips attached to the decoder, that's pretty crazy. Usually they should be soldered for a proper connection, or just in case there's any shorts. But alligator clips on a model that he looked at, that's pretty crazy. But I'm sure they won't do that regularly. Athearn Genesis does produce some awesome models, so I'd still recommend them. I fixed 3 box cars. There's 2 right there, the CSX and the rail box, and there's also this Norfolk Southern one. But I did a trade for the Automax, CP Automax, one of Athearn's older runs. But I got these box cars and realized that the wheel sets were all plastic, which is crap, and the couplers and coupler boxes were all falling apart. So I had to replace the wheels. I just took the plastic wheels out and put KD wheels in there, and then I replaced the coupler with KD coupler and made a makeshift coupler box lid. I had to glue it because these box cars all came with the Athearn clip system, which some of the clips were bent and didn't fit on properly and cracked and so forth. So I had to glue it, which I'm not looking forward to changing those couplers when they do break, but for now they do work and they run a lot better than what they did previously. As I was saying, I went to the hobby store not too long ago, and I got a bunch of supplies. I got some plastic glue, as you can see there. That is boxed super trees. That box is completely empty. I've put every super tree I can possibly get out of that box on my layouts for underbrush or trees, whatever I used it for. But I need one more box in order to complete the trees because I packed them quite closely together, so it's a little more filled in and they do create a little more seam block. And that's one of the things I got from the hobby store. I also got couplers, like I said, and I got a bunch of bottles of fine turf and whatnot for the super trees. That's a Scenic Express one. This Woodland Scenics. I got a whole mix of colors, some browns, some light greens, some dark greens, some coarser turfs and whatnot. But those trees look really good. They really bring the layout to life, and I quite like them a lot. Moving all the way back down here, I went to see a guy's layout in Mission, British Columbia, and he builds a lot of stuff out of just raw materials he has laying around. Now, one of the things he makes is his own fences. I'll get close to the camera here. What he does to make this is he takes this copper wire cleans it so the solder can make good contact, and then he takes these finishing nails and he solders them to it. Now it's key that you sand or take a piece of Scotch-Brite and clean this copper wire, otherwise the flux and solder will not make good contact, and that's what happened right here. Is the solder did not set properly, and 3 finishing nails broke off, or 3 posts. And then once you've soldered all that together, you take screen door or mosquito netting. In this case, this is bright aluminum screening. This is 48" by 84". And you just cut little strips of it and hot glue it or glue it or whatever you do, or whatever you want to do to make the chain link fence effect. Right now I'm just testing with that. It's not finalized of how I'm going to do it. But after you've done that, you shape it around the mountains or hillsides or whatever you want to do with it in order to create that fence that you're looking for. Another thing, which you may have seen just lying around the layout, is the car cards. I've made a car card for every single car on my layouts. I need to make some for my engines. I think they're different formats from what I understand. But I got these off the NMRA website. I cut them out, and on the back is hardstock, and I double-sided taped them together, the plain paper and hardstock, so they're pretty sturdy, but they are kind of flimsy still. But eventually these will be replaced by GMRI. I'm not going to get into that for a little while yet, because that is, from what I understand, a very complex system. So right now I'm basically just taking my big stack of car cards and I'm drawing random ones, and I'm making up trains or sorting them out for grain, and I say I need this grain car here or whatever. So it slows down my switching operations a little bit, as long as it makes me take my time, so I'm not kind of like hook up to this car, go, hook up to this car, go. And before I was just kind of taking a car and moving it, where I wasn't really doing anything with it. So that is, they are working so far. Another thing you have probably noticed already is these clouds all the way back across the wall. I took an airbrush and I took a very light blue, which you may or may not be able to see on the camera, but took a very light blue and I just kind of spotted it in a bunch of areas and used the cream colored wall behind it to create kind of like a faint clouds, kind of like a transparent cloud. And I painted some lighter clouds, or some more in-depth clouds with some gray and white with some sponge brushes, and it goes from light to dark. Light, there are white clouds over here, and it goes into like gray and black clouds back there, as if a thunderstorm's rolling in. I have purchased a bunch of art supplies. These are mostly for weathering. First off, I have got some acrylic paints. Colors are titanium white, lemon yellow, medium yellow, orange, fresh tint, brilliant red, crimson, violet, blue lake, just a normal blue, light green, Verdian hue, I think that's called, just a kind of like a regular green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, Payne's gray, and Mars black. I also got a whole bunch of brushes. Really every brush that I ever need on this layout. You have soft, you have more firm brushes, short brushes, long brushes, more fine brushes. I also got these little knives and carving tools, I guess. I'm going to try and use these for applying decals and graffiti decals, but they do look a little bit big, and I'm not sure if they'll work or not. And I also got this art set here. This has a bunch of pencil crayons and graphite pencils and so forth. And I'm going to try and do little tags on some cars. It somewhat works, but because I need to sand down the area I want to do so the pencil crayon has something to grip onto and it won't just rub off. Moving on. My last thing, which I'll start back there. I put super trees. Like I said, I've emptied a whole box of super trees. The super trees start there. I just did that section. I did not do that mountain. That's going to be for my next box. And I did do this mountain, or hill, with a lot of trees. So this is not as bare anymore. I still probably have to add a few more. But I did all that. I did this little corner piece right there. Come over here. I did this rock cut area. I did all the way along back there around the bridge by the snow shed and all the way around where the lake is. I did all the way up there, and where most of the super trees went is all the way around back there and by the farm. I also added another rock face. It makes a little more sense to put a rock face there because it was kind of like a really sudden stopped hill. And in real life, if there was a hill that was pretty well going straight up and down, when it rains, that is a big mudslide risk, and it would have already came down. So I put a rock face to make it look as if it's a little more sturdier. And I also, all the way back here again, as you can see, it's snowing out, so it's been a good time to work on the terrain. I also am redoing this river scene because the one previously didn't work that well. The little tiny gap in between the plywood and the border, all the Will & Scenic realistic water effects and all that leaked out onto the floor, and it just didn't look good because I didn't paint it well enough. So I took my sand or ballast that I created and I put some rocks down. So now and then I took scenic cement and some glue mixed with water, so it's really hard and firm, so now nothing can leak out. And I'll just pour it in that area and make my rapids around the rocks and whatnot. So hopefully that'll turn out a lot better than a previous attempt, and I'm definitely learning with this. So that is all for now, guys. Like I said, hopefully you guys have stuck around and watched this entire video, as it is approaching 20 minutes now. But like I said, I've got a lot of stuff done. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.